Let's make some noise. Come on.
Yes, indeed, Nick Foles. Let's make some noise on this bitterly cold, snowy Monday night where I am. I know most of you that tune into this program, the snow has already left your area. It's not left mine. Snowing all day again today. So hope wherever you are, it ain't snowing like it is here. So, but I'm here, braving through the snow. I walked uphill all the way, both ways, through 5 miles of dense snow to get here tonight. To fulfill my responsibility on the final word with MattyB. And tonight, a special program. We got the Twofer working tonight because in about, 15, 20 minutes or so, we'll see how this thing kind of wraps up. But the Flyers not looking good so far. 3-0. They trail with about 15 minutes or so to go in this game out in the island, or I'm sorry, at the arena in South Philly as they're down 3-0. With about 14 minutes to go in the game. But we're going to do a twofer. We got the Clear to the Ice program coming right after this. So we're going to do one of those seamless transitions to the Clear to the Ice show as soon as humanly possible at some point during tonight's show. So that's so if you're looking for post-game Flyers action, look no further than here because I got you for Flyers Islanders. Also in the news, Harrison Bader. For all you Harrison Bader people out there, Michael Papernick, I'm talking to you, wherever you are in the world tonight. You know, as the saying says, go west, young man. And that's where Harrison Bader is headed to the West Coast, to the San Francisco Giants on a 2-year deal. Somebody offered Harrison Bader a 2-year deal. Now we can start. Really? Could we have not given him a 2-year deal? I'm okay with not giving Harrison Bader a 2-year deal. 100%. With the young outfielders that we have in this system, namely Justin Crawford and Gabriel Raconis Jr., sort of beating down the door. I'm okay with not giving a player like Harrison Bader a 2-year deal. But Harrison Bader is on his way to the Giants. We talk some Harrison Bader if you want. We are also going to continue the conversation about the Eagles tonight and the offensive coordinator job, as it still remains like what was it back in the day? Al Capone's Vault with Geraldo. Remember that show from back in the 80s where they found Al Capone's Vault and they were going to open it live on television? Well, Al Capone's Vault is like the Eagle offensive coordinator job. And I hope that when Geraldo breaks into it, there's going to be actually somebody in there, because right now it's not looking good as the Eagles continue to go offensive coordinator less, and we're going to give another wrinkle to that because, yes, the narrative that this job is not desirable, even though being shut down by a swath of the fan base, I think it's a real thing. But I'm going to give you another perspective of why I think some young and also some seasoned offensive coordinators / former head coaches may not want this job. I'm going to give you another view of that. And I think this might be something that could make some sense. Not because they hate Nick Sirianni, not because they're concerned about working with Jalen Hurts, but a different point of view here. So we'll talk that later tonight as well. Your day in Philadelphia sports history, your of the night segment has 2 major pieces to it again tonight. We're going to continue our dissection of the 2026 NHL draft. And also our another Philly spotlight player tonight, as we're getting closer and closer, even though it's snowing out there where I am, and there's about 50 feet of snow on the ground. We're like literally danger close to the start of spring training in baseball. The college baseball season, those of you that follow college baseball, actually starts in some places tomorrow. Now, I know the weather has been hitting the Southland pretty hard, too. They're dealing with ice. I'm not sure if the games that were scheduled to go tomorrow are going to go, but initially on the schedules, there were games starting tomorrow in college baseball, not in NCAA, maybe I think JUCO and NAIA, not in NCAA. They won't start until about Valentine's Day, but still we are like beating down the door of baseball season. It's a beautiful thing. And again, you wouldn't know it to look out my window that we're getting close to baseball season, but we are. So we'll discuss some of that tonight as well. So Jam-packed show. Again, a twofer tonight on the program, as I will be delivering to you the Clear the Ice program at the end of this show once the Flyers and Islanders come final. And here is your Clear the Ice schedule for the rest of this week, or all this week. I am going to be doing my one and only tonight, as Mike Laro has you for the rest of the week, weather permitting. And if he doesn't, for some odd reason, because I know weather is moving in again over the weekend, if there's weather issues, I'm going to put Big Al on that Kings game. That's right. Al Zafiri is going to jump back in the Clear the Ice game. I'm going to make him do it on Saturday. No asking. No. I'm making an executive decision and putting him on that game if he wants to. So, but we'll get you covered throughout this week, regardless of who's there. But it's a Mike Laro week on Clear the Ice, as I got you tonight, and that's going to be it for me for the week. So there's your Clear the Ice schedule, and there's your rest of your schedule on the network for the rest of the week. We had some technical difficulties earlier tonight on the Pittsburgh Sports Tonight program. They got about a half hour in before the host, John Phillips, decided that the internet was just not good enough, and he professionally, responsibly cut the broadcast early, and he did it properly. So kudos to John. You know, internet problems happen, especially at this particular phase of the year. Half the world is iced in, or half the country is iced in, and the other half is snowed in. So I can understand some internet problems in this sort of time. So, but John's going to hopefully get things working tomorrow night, as he'll be back tomorrow. And then I got you as well tomorrow night. And then the rest of the week here on the network as we get set for a football-less week. No football this weekend. Now, that is something that, unfortunately, a lot of people are going to have to start getting used to. You know what I mean? I mean, this is the first of, like, the beginning of it. We got the NFC, AFC Flag Football Challenge coming on, like, was it next Tuesday at 8 o'clock? I mean, what? Again, I'm not sitting here advocating for the Pro Bowl, but I do remember I had great memories of the Pro Bowl growing up. And, I get it. It's a different time, a different era, a different game, different players. But I always looked at the Pro Bowl in Hawaii as an opportunity for the NFL to say, to reward players that performed above and beyond during that season, and they get to take their families to Hawaii for the week. And it culminates with a kind of a pretend game. I mean, I don't see the reasoning. I get it. It's always teetered on like the verge of just unwatchable, but for some odd reason back in my day, they made it work. Now I wonder, and again, I think this there's a lot to this, because I think in general, when we talk all-star games in professional sports, they're all sort of in the same boat these days. Not many people seem to care. And I think I have a beat on why. Regardless if the game meant anything or if it didn't mean anything, like the Pro Bowl did or didn't, the bottom line was, when I was growing up, you didn't see certain players regularly throughout the week, right? You didn't see, like, if you live in Philadelphia, you're not watching many San Diego Charger games. You're not seeing many San Diego Charger highlights. You're not indoctrinated or engrossed with San Diego Charger information and news at your fingertips. You can't click on a button and watch a highlight reel of what happened in San Diego. Or you can't go to a bar that has 75 televisions on it and just pick the one that has the Chargers game on it, because there was no ticket back then. So I think a lot of the lore, at least for me, now that I think back on it as an older person now, back to my youth, I think a lot of the lore that kept people interested in these all-star type games, especially the Pro Bowl in football, was an opportunity to sit down and watch some of the real good talent in the league that you did not see that often, right? Again, back in the day, it was CBS and NBC. NBC did the AFC games, CBS did the NFC games. And typically it was, you were watching CBS if you're an Eagles fan, because, obviously they're playing the NFC. So you had maybe an opportunity. Some days they had the double headers where you had, about 4 games to choose from, one being the Eagles game, but sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they just had a early game, which would be the Eagles, and then a late game on the other network, which was probably an AFC team or, whatever. But So there wasn't that much exposure. And then you had the Monday Night Football game and Thursday night, but that was it. There wasn't much exposure to some of the other players and teams. So I think that's kind of what made it sustainable back then, was it just wasn't that much information out there. There wasn't much of an avenue to look at these teams. So we're going to do some Pro Bowl flag football action next week, and then we're going to get ready for the big one on Sunday, February the 8th. The New England Patriots versus the Seattle Seahawks in Super Bowl 60. So that's going to be a fun game. I think that's going to be a really good game. I know it's not the game that everybody had on their bingo card, or is it? There's a conspiracy out there, which we'll talk about a little bit later too. So let's get rolling here on the show tonight with our day in Philadelphia sports history. We go back to the year 1931. On this date, January 26th, Buzz Arlett. That's right. You remember Buzz Arlett, right? The man, the myth, the legend, the Babe Ruth of the minor leagues. He was sold on this day to the Phillies after dominating for over a decade from the pitcher's mound and the batter's box with the independent Oakland Oaks. Placed on waivers by Philadelphia at the end of his lone 31 campaign, Arlett would never play in the show again. Hitting .313 in his only season in Major League Baseball, Arlett still holds the NL record for hits in a season by one player. By hits in 1 year by a player, 131. He had 131 in his only season of Major League Baseball. Among minor leaguers, Arlett currently ranks third in home runs with 432nd, second in RBIs, 1,786. Terrible defensive play was Arlett's main obstacle towards generating a long-term stay in the bigs. Just in case of bad timing, the designated hitter, an idea originally conjured by the A's, Connie Mack, wasn't instituted in the majors until 1973. So there you have it. The man who could not seemingly, I guess, you're ripping apart the minor leagues, but could not last for whatever reason in the major leagues due to some potentially very bad defensive habits, was signed today by the Philadelphia Phillies, by the Oakland A's, or by the Philadelphia A's in 1931. So there's your day in Philadelphia sports history. And then, of course, was brought to you by the fine folks here over at the network. Again, remind everybody that pending the end of the Flyers game tonight, whenever that ends or however it ends, right now it's, I think, 3-0 during a commercial break, but it'll be, if it is 3-0, we'll transition to the Clear the Ice program at some point a little bit later on, and I get you for that too. So 2 for 1 here on the network on this beautiful, beautiful cold Monday night. So make sure you're checking that out and staying tuned for that. So there you have it. All right, so let's get into some conversation. Yeah, and I know it's getting old. It's getting old, and I know, the narratives out there, it's coming from one side being negative, saying that nobody wants to come here because they don't want to deal with the Eagles for some odd reason, either through Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, Howie Roseman, Jeff Lurie, or a combination of all of them. And then there's the other side of the argument that states, you know what? They're taking their time and they're doing their due diligence. And I said this last night. I believe the truth lies somewhere in the middle of that. I think there's truth in the middle of that. I do believe firmly that they've offered this job to somebody, and that person turned them down. I don't know who, and I don't know how many people have been offered the job, but the pool of offensive coordinator candidates is starting to dry up pretty much, and we're down to like the 4th level of people that everybody was seemingly targeting. So I'm not telling you that there's a reason why players. I'm not going to sit here and take a stance on this by saying, well, no, the Eagles are doing their due diligence, and that's why they don't have an offensive coordinator. No, that would be ridiculous for me to say that, because I think they have offered the job to somebody, and that person turned them down. Whoever that was, or how many times that was offered to how many people, I don't know, but I do believe the position was offered to somebody, and it was turned down for whatever reason. And of course, the narrative being that nobody wants to come here is an interesting narrative that cannot be silenced, because it is viable. It is something that needs to be discussed. It is a aspect of this that needs to be identified. Now, we'll never know the truth unless somebody decides to break their silence. And if one of the coordinator candidates speaks their mind and says, I didn't want to come to Philadelphia because of X, Y, and Z, he'd be dooming himself for any kind of future employment in the NFL. So we're never going to know, and the Eagles obviously ain't going to tell us. But I am going to look at this from a certain point of view, and I really want them to hire somebody so we can stop talking about this, because it's so old. But think of it this way: And it just dawned on me today as I was sitting around staring out the window watching the snow for the third day. You know, in the history of Nick Sirianni being here with the Eagles, they've had Steichen, they've had Johnson, they've had Moore, and they've had Petula, right? There's been the fate of the offensive coordinator with the Philadelphia Eagles has been either an A or B conversation. A, they get hired on as head coaches someplace else, or B, they get fired after 1 year. Now, we're not the only ones who notice that, obviously being Eagle fans. Other people notice that. Other organizations are paying attention to that. Other coaches are paying attention to that. So as a human being, I just want to put yourself in the position of somebody that, you know, either you're a seasoned NFL guy or gal, yes, and you're looking to get another job, another opportunity. Here's a point of view that you could be thinking of. I got 1 year. I got one lousy year to go to Philadelphia based on the track records of the former offensive coordinators. I got 1 year to prove myself for it to work. God forbid there's some sort of problem. We slide backwards. Something doesn't go right. Somebody gets hurt. I'm going to get fired after 1 year because it ain't going to be good enough because for whatever reason, the blame of the offense is getting flipped constantly back on the coordinator. So I got 1 year to prove myself. Now, the reward apparently at the end of that 1 year, if I do well, is a potential to go become a head coach somewhere. But listen, man, for the younger guys trying to make a name for themselves, that's a lot of pressure. That's a friggin' lot of pressure to come into an organization that has a track record that gives these guys 1 year to make it or break it. And I think that's a point of view that nobody's looking at. Now, for an older coach like a Brian Daboll or a Stefanski or a Mike McDaniel, a guy like that who's looking to get himself back in the NFL, maybe that's not that much pressure. And you're just like, what the hell with it? I'll go there and see what happens. But for a young guy, a young up-and-coming person that's with the staff right now, that's in a stable position right now, yeah, you get the opportunity to move up in the world and become an offensive coordinator, but you've been given 1 year, one football season to prove yourself. That might be too much pressure for some of these guys. That might not be worth it to some guys. That juice might not be worth to be squeezed. So in all the narratives about not wanting to work with Jalen Hurts and all the narratives not wanting to be around Nick Sirianni, has anybody looked at it from that side of it? That you got 1 year to come here because the track record says, the evidence says, you're either getting hired as a head coach after the first year or you're getting fired. Because if you look back in the history of time since Steichen in 22, that has been the career trajectory of all of our offensive coordinators. So would you want to put yourself in that position? And maybe after you start thinking about that and you start kind of breaking it down a little bit and you're like, you know what? I got 1 year and I got to go deal with Hurts. I got to go deal with A.J. Brown. I got to go deal with Nick Sirianni. Wow, man. Maybe this is not the job that I'm looking at. Maybe the juice is not worth the squeeze here with this. So I think it's a very interesting point of view that not many people at all are talking about. And yes, it does fit into it's not desirable. That could be it. Put yourself in their position. So I think that's something that it just dawned on me today. I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's this reason. The human reason. Bump the snow. Yeah, it's snowing where I'm. Is this still snowing out right you? Because it's still snowing here. And I don't know, man. I'm supposed to work tomorrow. I have a kind of a day job. I'm a substitute school teacher in an elementary school. Yeah, I'm responsible for molding the young minds of tomorrow. I don't know how I got that job, but I don't know if I'm going to work again tomorrow because of the weather. Shane's like, yeah, I said that. I said after 2022, though. Since 2022, it's been a one and done for every offensive coordinator. Every one. There might be something to that. Think about that. Think about it. If you're young, what's that? Doyle, whatever his name is, guy, if you're Charlie Weiss Jr., if you're one of these young hot names, what's the dude was with Ben Johnson out there in Chicago? Him. If you're one of those guys, maybe that's not kind of what you're looking for right now. An opportunity for one guaranteed year. And then I'm either going to, as history says, I'm going to make it or break it. I'm going to get a job as a head coach or I'm getting fired. So, I think that's a point of view that no one's looking at. And yes, that fits the narrative of not being a desirable job. And who has created that? Because what got me thinking about this was, should they have not potentially given Kevin Patullo another chance at being the offensive coordinator? Again, all year long, actually for the last 2 years, all I've been hearing about is this elite offense, about the play ability of Jalen Hurts. And I'm going to go to him because that's all I ever hear about, the eliteness of Jalen Hurts, about the eliteness of A.J. Brown. Saquon Barkley in his 2,500 plus total yard season in 2024. The greatest offensive line in all of football, with the greatest offensive line coach in all of football. If you have all these weapons and you hit a bump in the road, which you did in 25 for whatever reason, and we've gone over what some of those bumps might have been, why were you so quick to get rid of the offensive coordinator? Right? I mean, why not give Kevin Patullo another chance to kind of figure it out? Yeah, I'm just saying, people see this type of stuff. People are looking at this stuff from the outside in, thinking you go, the minute you step in the building as an offensive coordinator, your clock is ticking. I mean, God forbid I mess up. God forbid I call the wrong play. God forbid AJ Brown, dinosaur arms a ball here. They're going to run me up a flagpole without the grease. So I'm just saying, Kevin Patullo might have been given another opportunity. Why not? You have this elite team. You have this elite head coach in Nick Sirianni. Why, oh, why did you fire your offensive coordinator? He's a young play caller. First time in the job. We knew that going in. We're not going to give him more than 1 year to kind of figure it out. You gave Brandon Graham 3 years to figure it out, and actually I think it wasn't into his 4th year that he still was kind of bad and he turned it on. You've given other players more time. I keep hearing you got to give, Jihad Campbell more than 1 year. He struggled his rookie year. So you got to give Jihad Campbell 1 more year. What, Kevin Patullo doesn't get the same type of friggin', respect? So again, these are aspects of this that I don't think anyone's looking at it. Everyone just looks at it with their green glasses on, saying it's the Eagles. Everybody wants to be here. Well, I just gave you another perspective of that whole thing. It's one and done for offensive coordinators in this town. And the rest of the league knows that, and they see that. And I don't blame them, man. I honestly don't blame them for being that way. I don't know. I have not heard. Joe's been a ghost, man. It stopped snowing. Yeah, I don't know. It was snowing about an hour ago. I haven't been outside since then, so I'm not sure if it is, but it's been snowing all day. Yes, I am. Declan Doyle. There you go. Declan Doyle is his name. Thank you, Mike. Well, the Eagles should have given Brian Johnson another chance after starting 10-1. Again, and that lends into the narrative there, Papernick, right? I mean, we're quick to chop the head off the chicken here, but what do I hear day after day, year after year, and sports radio or sports talk show after sports talk show about the eliteness of X, Y, and Z on this football team. But yet we cut our offensive coordinators after one season. I really think a lot of Eagles fans are pretty much, the definition of the word hypocrite, right? And it's funny. And I'm gonna talk about the H crowd here, because the H crowd they love me. I am their Satan. All right. I let's just call it to you that way. I'm their Satan. And they have every opportunity to run me down. They do. But yet I consistently hear them talking about one thing, and then 10 seconds later, they're talking about the same thing, but out of the other side of their mouth. At least with me, I'm consistent. With me, I am straight to the point. With me, I don't flip sides. With me, I am right down the center. Or my center. It's not the center, but it's my center. You know, there is something to this, because I do not believe 100% that it's because the Eagles are sitting back in some sort of like Algonquin roundtable situation, you know, mulling over offensive coordinator candidates, you know, how he's smoking a pipe. You know, there's leather-bound books everywhere, 20-year-old scotch on the table. I'm not thinking anything like that's happening, right? And there's an intellectual meetings of the minds going on trying to figure out who the next offensive coordinator is. That's a bunch of bullcrap, all right? There's been decisions made, but people don't want to come here for whatever reason. And I think I just gave you a very good another reason that people might not want to come here. Just hire Frank Reich. You won't go anywhere when he worked out with Carson. If Frank Reich was such a viable option, Kaepernick, why has he not been scooped up by either the Eagles at this point or anybody else? Maybe Frank doesn't want to get back into the ring. Did he just get fired? Wasn't he an interim coach at some point this year? And was it Stanford? Did he just like step down? Maybe he wants to take the year off. Yeah, Harrison Bader is on a 2-year deal. Good for him. I wasn't prepared to give him 2 years. Nope. No. Don't need another bloated contract. And yes, a 2-year contract to Harrison Bader is a bloated contract. But all right, so the phone lines day is open. Day is open. You guys want to come on, jump on the conversation. Eagles offensive coordinator search continues. Is it because coordinators, young up and comings, or even the seasoned veterans don't like the one and done type of situation? They feel like the leash is too short for them here, and they're not having an opportunity to sort of grow into the job. Is that one of the reasons keeping them away? The Flyers are about to lose 4-0. It's 4-0 with about a minute to go. We will do the final word or clear the ice a little bit later on, as we'll put the pieces together on this game. Another offensive barn burner for the Flyers, and Sam Ersson once again. I don't know the numbers of this game, but I'm going to have to say Ersson has probably struggled a little bit, but we'll get into the Flyers. So all that's coming up. So the phone lines are open. Please jump on if you can. Star Wars says it's because it hurts. But what exactly, Star Wars? What exactly is it about Hurts that people don't want to be here for? Is Hurts the offensive coordinator killer? Is Hurts, who has a history, literally in his entire playing career? I don't know. I don't have the numbers all the way going back to high school, but it's very well documented that he's gone through coordinators like Sox. I mean, the only coordinator he's had for more than 1 year of his life has been what's his face, Steichen. Is Hurts the problem? Is that the reason? Is Hurts the OC killer? Everyone, and that's the thing, because no one ever looked at it that way, right? You always looked at it from the offensive coordinator's point of view, like, oh, so-and-so took a head coaching job. Well, yeah, I mean, that happens. It happens a lot. It's obviously the next step in their progression, but we don't really look at the fact that so-and-so got fired and not given an opportunity to work with Hurts. So, again, we're quick to really, get that whip down when it comes to people talking negatively about the Eagles, but nobody wants to look at these things deeper. Nobody wants to coach, but why? Star Wars, why does anybody not want to coach the elite, the one in the million, Jalen Hurts? He is an elite quarterback with skills like Skittles. Why does anybody want to coach him? Why is he so hard? To me, he'd be a coach's dream. What is he, a coach's son, right? I've heard that too. Me and Al talked about that a little bit the other day. He's a coach's son. So he comes from the pedigree of a coach's son, whatever the hell that means, right? Whatever the hell that means. That could mean a lot of different things. One, it could mean he's the type of guy that's told what to do, and you better do it the way I'm telling you, or there'll be hell to pay. So he lacks any sort of sense of creativity or any kind of sense of like adventure spirit when he's out there calling plays and he's out there trying to move an offense because he's afraid of the repercussions. Or number two, he's just been around football all his life. Maybe it's a combination of both. But why doesn't anybody want to coach him? Now, Jay, I could see if Jalen Hurts, say, didn't want to run anymore, I could see that being a problem. I could also see if Jalen Hurts has got a problem reading defenses and doesn't want to learn and get better. I could see that. Yeah, I can see that. I could also see if Jalen Hurts doesn't like to throw the ball down the middle of the field, and all of our offenses consisted of balls to the outside. What is it, 51 completions to the middle of the field this year? And last year he had 46. So I guess he's getting better. He's got more than he did in 24. Right? I could see that being some sort of reasons. Right? But he is the Super Bowl MVP, as I keep hearing every day. Super Bowl MVP, Jalen Hurts. So Star Wars says nobody wants to coach Hurts. I wouldn't know why. Nick and Hurts need to go. Yep, Star Wars, you're preaching to the choir. Let's go to the phones. Good evening, Michael. How are you?
Hey, what up, Matty? So, this thing is with this offensive coordinator stuff, I don't know. I think Nagy's going to get it. I think Andy's gave this seal of approval because did you see the article? There was a headline that said Andy knew that Matt wanted to run his own show. That's why they didn't bring him back.
Mm-hmm. I don't doubt
so I think
the job somewhere, but I don't know if it's going to be here.
It's going to be here. It's going to be here because Lori, Andy, Howie, Andy. You see where I'm going? They love Andy. If Andy left Kansas City tomorrow, he'd be the new head coach or of the Philadelphia Eagles. I guarantee you. I got to get to something. I was on a podcast. I was on a podcast earlier today where they said it was. Okay, I got to make sure I get this right.
Yeah.
That John Harbaugh, he's a better coach than Nick Sirianni, but they put a button there because he was there for 18 years and only won one Super Bowl. Well, okay. Don Shula was with Miami for 25 years and only won 2 Super Bowls. What's that guy doing? Nick Sirianni? They were trying to say, like I said, bring Harbaugh in, and it was like they didn't really believe that Harbaugh was they didn't want to say he wasn't he was better. You know what I mean? They didn't want to admit it. Like they were kind of like fencing it with Sirianni. Like because he's been here for 5 years, he's been to 2 Super Bowls, he's been to playoffs every year, he's got a winning percentage. Oh, come on, man. Barry Switzer won a Super Bowl with Jimmy Johnson's team. You could have coached that team. I could have coached that team. I mean, everybody could have coached last year's team.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree with you. And there's multiple sides of that narrative. And, I understand at the end of the day, it's about championships. It's about the rings. It is. And that's why the conversation about Dan Marino about being a Hall of Famer, well, he never won a Super Bowl. But, yeah, you're right. But he's also one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to play the game. He just never had a really decent team around him. But, anyway, same thing can be said about head coaches. It really can. I just said, I could have coached the 2024 Eagles. Once somebody said, hey, Matty B, we're just going to hand the ball off to Saquon okay, great. Okay, let's do it. That's all. That was the end of it right there. That was the end of the coaching from the offensive side last year or in 24. And then on defense, Fangio did what he did. And I was just along for the ride like everybody else. So, no, I am not giving Nick Sirianni credit for winning that Super Bowl because of his coaching ability. No. It had nothing to do with that. And it's a ridiculous argument. But there is an argument to the fact of winning Super Bowls, right? But Barry Switzer, you mentioned it. Was that Barry Switzer's team or was that Jimmy Johnson's team that he won the Super Bowl? That
was Jimmy Johnson. That was listen. That was Jimmy Johnson's team. I mean, look, Michael Irvin, all the drugs, all the hookers, cheating on his wife, and they won Super Bowls. I mean, no, this is how it started. I said that Nick Sirianni was the only head coach in the NFL who is incompetent enough to call any plays, and they said John Harbaugh can't call plays. He can't call. John Harbaugh coached defensive backs and special teams in the NFL. Nick Sirianni, the guy, look, I'm going to have a heart attack before I'm 57 in a couple weeks with this guy. They need to just fire. Look, make it easy. Fire him. Bring John Gruden in. Let John light the fire hopefully under Jalen's ass. That's all he's got to do. Somebody's got to light a fire. Because my thing's this. They had to know a couple years ago that Jalen has a problem progressing through his reads. He don't read defenses fast enough, and he's not a great. You know what I mean? He's not a great thrower of the football anyway. Why sign the guy to a $290 whatever it was $300 million contract, whatever the hell it was? You're stuck with him. And these offensive coordinators just running through. Look. I get the Brian Johnson thing because I've been watching football for over 40 years, and that was the worst 10-1 team I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. Now, the only thing that season had and this season having in common is A.J. Brown cried and cried and cried both years. And in both years, they didn't go to collapse.
Kaepernick, we don't blame the collapse of 23 on the offense, so we blame it on the defense, correct?
I think that was a whole shit show, that team.
But
that wasn't just the defense.
Every time we go back to that, because remember the narrative earlier this season when it looked like there could be a collapse to come in because they were winning ugly, early on this year. They were winning real ugly games. They hadn't put a complete game together really ever. I mean, they got that Raiders game, but up to that point, they hadn't really put in a complete game. And the narrative, driven by me hard, was we're headed for another collapse of 2023. And what I got thrown back in my face was, no. That was because of the defense. Our defense is a lot better. But listen, I agree with you. There was crap on both sides of the ball, and Brian Johnson got fired. And that's what I would say. Well, then why did they fire the offensive coordinator? And then I hear a bunch of other Homer speak. But you're right, Kaepernick. But listen, Steichen, 2 years, as you said. Then he gets a head coaching job, and then it's been 1-1-1 the rest of the time. I'm telling you, if I'm a young guy like the assistant for Johnson over in Chicago, I'm like, man, they're going to give me one freaking year to figure this out. I'm going to go in there and either get fired after 1 year, or I'm going to get hired as a head coach somewhere. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm ready for all that pressure, man. You got to give me more than 1 year.
Supposedly he had a good interview, but here's the thing. I don't think Sirianni wants somebody here that he fears for his job.
I agree.
A young kid like that could impress. Sirianni might be getting the door early next year. I mean, that's just my only thing I'm thinking of. I mean, Charlie Weiss Jr.'s son backed out. I think a lot. Look, just go hire. Does it really make a difference when they hire these guys? Because they're not going to start training until April anyway. So who the hell cares who they hire? They got 5 months. Yeah, I mean, what to implement the offense?
Off season. Does the offensive coordinator have any input with Howie Roseman? Again, it all goes back to this power structure. There's been some reports, been verified reports that Howie runs that team with an iron fist. He makes all the decisions with the personnel, and then coaches just pretty much deal with that. Do the offensive coordinators have any input in the off-season plan about bringing in new players? Do they have any input in the draft? A lot of that probably comes into play too, like what type of environment that is for the Eagles. And you never hear Howie. He always says, "Well, I get players for Nick." I never heard Howie say, "I got Nick's players." You know what I mean?
Well, listen, would you trust Nick drafting anybody?
No, I don't trust Nick Sirianni to pick players. No,
I mean,
that's the point.
But to get to the draft, I'm glad you said that. I keep seeing this tight end from Oregon or wherever, Sadiq. Yep. Is that really important to draft in the first round, or would it be better to go?
Kaepernick, who's our tight end next year?
Oh, we don't have none. No, I get that, but there's a free agent. There is a free agent out there that's pretty good. He's a backup. He's the backup up in Baltimore, Isaiah Likely.
Yeah.
Now I'm sure he's going to have suitors, but what I'm saying is, if the defense is their strong point, why wouldn't they go draft the defensive back. Go get a defensive back, put him over, because you still need a number two. Blankenship might walk.
Yeah,
he could walk.
He's going to walk. They're not going to give him a contract.
Well, I don't know, because him and Cooper DeJean
he got exposed down the stretch of the season this year. He really did get exposed.
Well,
the 49er game was terrible.
Yeah, well, look, Adoree Jackson got exposed and they kept him. I mean,
I don't want to have to do that anymore. That's the point here.
Well,
no, you're right, but I am in favor. And we did our 2.0 mock draft today. We released that out there today, and once again, tight end from Oregon shows up as the number one pick for the Eagles. Yeah, you can make a case that you need a cornerback. They absolutely need a cornerback too, but typically they don't draft cornerbacks in the first round. I mean, Quinion was the first one since they drafted. I don't even know who the last one was before Quinion. So I don't know.
It was the guy kid from Florida State. Wasn't the kid from Florida State? Lito Shepherd. Yeah,
right back. Yeah, Lito Shepherd, Sheldon Brown days. That was probably the last time.
Yeah.
So they don't typically do that. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but you got to give Jalen Hurts more weapons, right? We got to make sure that Jalen Hurts and this kid out of Oregon is a good run blocker, and he's also a great pass catcher. He runs good routes. So I'm looking at the future of this team too. We cannot, and then he's got free agents. It's 23 free agents on this team right now. Howie Roseman. He's got to give out contract extensions. I mean, I don't know if he's going to have enough money to go after a prime. Like Dombrowski doesn't go after prime free agents. I don't know how he's going after any A-lister free agents this year because of all the money restrictions.
What about the offensive lineman? Like, what about that? I mean, they got to draft somebody. I mean, why not go after the offensive lineman at first? I heard about that kid from I don't know. I don't watch college football. I only watch the draft.
There's a kid from Utah that's projecting pretty high, but what I've heard, he's not a first round talent. He's a second round,
Alabama?
Potentially third round. Yeah, you can go Alabama. Listen, they need to address 6'7". That.
Well, there's a kid 6'7". He's a first rounder. Some guy I'm going to the Eagles. He's like 360 pounds. He's like a walking refrigerator. I mean, he's like Mikael Becton. I mean, he's just like no, it's from Alabama.
From Alabama, okay.
Katie, I think.
You can go that way, absolutely. But you also might have to draft another wide receiver. You may have to draft 2 wide receivers in this draft at pretty high positions to potentially replace A.J. Brown and Jahan Dotson, who's going to walk as a free agent. So there are a lot of needs on that offensive skill spot.
Howie has an ace in his pocket.
Who's that?
The ace is A.J. Brown, because he knows if he trades A.J., as long as now I'm hearing the cap pick could be 43 if he does it before June 1st, and it was something about $7 million. So I don't understand all that. But if they could trade him and say get a 3rd and a 5th round pick for him, or whatever, a 3rd round pick, a 2nd round pick, there you go. I mean, now you know that, or maybe they could. How's this? Trade him to Buffalo. You get a pick and get that kid Shakir over here. Now I ain't saying that kid Shakir, but now you got another viable weapon, and maybe you get a 3rd round pick with him or something, and then you can use that to maybe, because now you have 3 3rd round picks and maybe move up into the 2nd round and maybe draft a wide receiver.
No, you're right, and I think honestly, and I know the conversation about A.J. Brown and his trade has been a hot one. It's going to get hotter as we get closer to the draft and whatever. But if they do trade him before June 1st, it's a massive cap hit. But honestly, who the hell cares? I don't care about that. Well, I mean, I don't know how that affects this team. You're right. I don't know the X's and O's about the money. They wait till June 1st, then the cap hits less. But obviously, they miss out on the draft. So they got to wait till 2027. But, it really is going to boil down to what Howie wants. Does he think he can replace what he has through the current picks on the team? Or does he have enough money to go out in free agency? Or is he going to have to potentially get more picks in this year's draft in order to maybe move up somewhere, or, move out somewhere or make another trade with somebody else? It's really going to come down to how important they think getting rid of A.J. Brown is and what they have in their own cupboard to sort of replace him.
Well, that's the thing. Now to get to the Harrison Bader thing.
Harrison Bader. You
thought he was overpaid. For that 2 years, Man, that's a better contract than they gave JT. They gave JT 45 over 3 years when they should have gave him a 3-year deal with a 2-year with a third year as an option for the team, or just gave him three 1-year options like they did Bichette.
So you're okay with giving Bader a 2-year deal
for $10 million? No. He's better than what we got going around left field. Unless Ricones gets the job, you're gonna have Marsh running around out there in Kemp.
I mean, we're gonna see how this works out. I think it was a smart move. I would have brought him back here on 1 year for $10 million. I would have. I'm not going in 2 years with him though, man. I think it came down to length. Honestly, he doesn't want to sign a 1-year deal, and I get that.
Yeah, but your outfield would have been better.
We don't. Yeah, right now, with the known commodity of Harrison Bader, how he played for the Phillies last year, it would be better. But we have it's unfortunate that our outfield in the 2026 is an unknown commodity, and there's no getting around that. We don't know how Crawford's going to be. We don't know how Garcia is going to be. We don't know how if Raconis even does show up and play and how he's going to be. The outfield's an unknown, and if you add in Bader, yeah, you have a known commodity from last year, but you don't know if that's going to hold over from last year too. So it's unfortunate, but I think it's just a fact of life that our outfield is an unknown right now, and that's something we're going to have to navigate through. And it's not the greatest thing. You would think Dombrowski with this type of team would have navigated past that, but we're here. So.
What's Castellanos to the Padres? I didn't hear nothing about that.
I've heard Castellanos linked to the Marlins. I've heard him linked to the Dodgers. I've heard him linked to the Mariners. I've heard him linked to I've not heard Padres, but I would be okay. Listen, I don't care where we send his ass, man. Send him to Korea. I don't really care. Get him out of here, man. Get him that for our own mental health, Papernick. He's not part of the team. What are we? And I know Jack Fritz, when we had him on the other day, said Castellanos is waiting for the other, like Suarez and what's his name, the kid from that was traded from the A's to Andujar, for them to sign and see kind of where the market goes from there. They're waiting sort of with that. I don't know what that has anything to do with Castellanos being traded. I guess it's a matter of who needs a right fielder or a first baseman. I guess he's trying to convert at the end of the free agent. They cannot go to camp. I don't care if he's just hanging out for a day or two. He cannot go to Clearwater as a Philly. He's got to be gone by then. Get rid of him now. Well,
the one trade I did here was to Pittsburgh, and they would only pick up $5 million. Pittsburgh would pick up $5 million. The Phillies would pick up 15, but the Phillies wouldn't get nothing in return.
So straight cash for Castellanos, basically. Right?
Well, I mean, unless
we're playing for him to pay, basically.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're going to. Yeah, it was. I mean, like I said, if there's a silver lining to a slither of it, the fact that it's a contract year for this guy, and if he wants to even think about getting a half decent contract next year or anything, he's going to have to show up. It's just like Alec Baum. They're going to have to show up this year. We're going into camp with Baum. Just think about this. Baum's going into camp. What's this, the third year to talk about trading him?
Yeah, man. Maybe that's why he hates this place. Maybe that's why Yeffin hates this place, man, because we're constantly trying to get rid of him, man. And we're this year, we openly tried to get rid of him. Everybody knew it. I mean, they were within, I don't know, an opt-out after your second year of your contract to getting Bo Bichette, and Baum would be on the out right now. So now he knows for sure they want it. But nope, here he comes, walking in the camp. Hey, guys, I'm back, I wouldn't want to be out, but you're right. It is a contract year. It is a contract year, so he needs to go out there and play for his next job.
There was something I saw with Harper. It had to do with his little thing with Dombrowski. He wore a shirt that said "Not Elite."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was swinging. He was in the batting cages wearing a "Not Elite" T-shirt.
That's going to go bad somewhere along the way here.
Oh man!
I mean, it is.
I know.
Now here's something. I didn't read this article. It's from Forbes. It says Phillies confirm interest in a Bryce Harper move after spat with front office. I don't know what that means. This is from January 25th. So I didn't read the whole article. I just saw the heading of it earlier today. I got to read it and see what it is. It probably has to do with the Dombrowski thing, I'm assuming. And he's going to hey, you know what? I'll give Dombrowski credit by saying he's not elite because
I do give Dombrowski
like
credit
you said,
for saying that.
I mean, come on, this guy, I get it. He you know, he's the heartbeat and all that, blah, blah, blah. But man, like, something, you know, he's going to have to wake up, man, this year. Because I think he's gone. I told you. I think if it ain't end of this year, it's next year. He's going to want out. It's going to be an ugly thing. I think when it finally happens, it's going to be ugly. And you know what? He might not want out this year. He's going to wait to see that CBA.
Yeah.
The money goes up. And then he's going to cry for the money. And then when the Phillies don't give it for him, that's when the split's going to happen. Because
sit-ups in his driveway, trying to get out of here.
Yeah, but well, I don't know about that much. But I mean,
something like that.
He's going to come out. He's going to wear a headband and not elite.
Yeah, get me out of here.
When he's up the back, he's going to do something. So you don't know nothing about Ricky Deal? Nobody's heard anything about how he's doing?
No, Joe was on. Joe hasn't been on the last couple of nights. Joe seems to have like a pulse on this. So reach out to Joe on Messenger, see if he responds to you. I'm sure he will. Yeah, and I'm sure if something majorly changed, he would have reached out to me at some point, but he hasn't. So that I'm gonna take that as good news, you know. And
well, maybe baseball starts in a couple weeks, and
it's a beautiful.
You know,
thing.
the Sixers maybe Sixers will trade Joel. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that'll be a beautiful thing too.
Trade deadline's coming up in the NBA. Hey, about Harper, real quick. I do want to ask. I want to let you know this. So we spotlighted him last night. 75 RBIs. He had an OPS around 845. Listen, I know 75 RBIs, and no planet should Bryce Harper only have 75 RBIs. But this type of lineup that's in front of him and behind him, he should be bad. He should be a penciled-in 100 RBI guy a year. But here's the deal, Patrick.
Well, he was hurt. How many games did he play last year? Do you know?
I think 154. He played most of it, or 134. I want to say it was in that 136 maybe around there.
Yeah, that's still unacceptable. That's unacceptable. So
listen to this though. Listen, Patrick, if he wants to bat 287 and only hit 25 with 20, I forget, 17 home runs. I have it here. Anyway, whatever. He wants to only drive in 75 runs a game and hit maybe 25 home runs a season. I'm okay with that. Here's what the problem with me and Bryce Harper has been since the 2022 NLCS MVP thing. He's just not clutch anymore. He doesn't come up big in those moments, and he hasn't. We can't remember the clutch moments now, but we sure as hell can remember when he didn't. That's the problem with Bryce Harper. And you mentioned it last night. He's up there with one thing on his mind at all times, and that's putting that ball out of the park. And I think it's really, it's affected him and his overall worth to this team, because he could be a very good contact hitter if he just slowed that swing down a little bit, got a little bit under control more, and tried to make contact. So give me more clutch moments. Keep the numbers the way they are, whatever. Just give me more Bryce Harper clutch moments, Michael Papernick.
What about dropping him down to like number 5 to get him away from Schwarber? Because they're not going to move Schwarber from 2.
Who are we moving to 3?
You know what I mean? Drop him, put Schwarber 3, Garcia 4.
I don't know.
Put Harper 5.
Man, Garcia's batted 130 against left-handers, man. I don't know about that. I don't know.
Well, I mean, or you got to put. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, or put Harper 2nd, put Schwarber 4 in the lineup, 5 in the lineup, or something. And I don't know. I mean,
Bohm, Turner, Harper, Bohm, Schwarber.
Yeah, Harper can't. Schwarber? Like I said. Yeah, because Harper. Well, I don't know if he can protect him, but see, Bohm ain't going to try to outshadow.
He's going to try to get on base.
Schwarber.
Right.
Yeah, see, Harper, what I was telling you last night, he's trying to always one-up Schwarber.
Yeah, get him away from him.
That's
out of sight, out of mind, that kind of thing.
That's the problem. When Harper goes up there, I always say to my buddy, I'm like, my buddy who I always talk to all the time, I'm like, the Phillies, I'm like, every time he's up there and Schwarber hits a home run or just something, he's got to go up there and he has to try to outdo him instead of just letting things happen naturally or organically happen. No, he can't. He don't have it in him to do that. He puts the pressure. He's putting too much pressure on himself, and I mean. And then you're not allowed to criticize him, because like you say, the homer, you criticize Harper, boy, all the homers come out. Everybody comes out. You can't criticize him. Mike Schmidt was the most criticized guy in Philadelphia for 20 years, 18 or whatever. And he survived. He survived. He joked about it. They'll survive. I mean, if you can't.
He actually regretted it. He did. He regretted it. He said that he shouldn't have taken it as personally as he did. But you're right. He did survive. And he made a joke out of it at the end there with the glasses in the wig. That was pretty funny. Yeah, he did survive.
Well, that's my point. Like, Harper's got to understand, like all this stuff that's going to happen. And I mean, he's going to get criticized. I mean, but they got to do something with this guy. And we always talk about the manager, and this lineup will never change. I mean, the only thing you're going to see this year, I think you're going to see Harper. He's going to try Harper in spring training at 2 and Schwarber 3 because I think that's what he wants to do. And I think that came from somebody else because that wasn't a Robbie idea. There's just no way Robbie made that thought.
Makes too much baseball sense.
Well, I don't think Schwarber would allow it happen. Somebody with some baseball knowledge went to Schwarber and talked to him and said, "Look, this would be better for the team. It's a baseball move." It wasn't Robbie. It was somebody. I don't know who it was, but it was somebody. I mean, because if he goes to Schwarber and says, "Listen, I'm moving you to 3," Robbie, didn't we have this discussion?
Yeah. So, go back and sit down on the bench. I'm batting 2, or I'm leading off. One or the other. You'd let me know.
There it is. When I came out and said he thought about moving Harper to 2, Schwarber to 3, I'm thinking you didn't make this call. It might be Dombrowski making the call. Maybe Dombrowski made it. So listen, we got to do something here. Maybe moving Harper to 2 brings him back to being elite. The problem is like Schwarber's. He gets on base, but he don't get on base like like a Jimmy Rollins would, or a guy like a Trey Turner. You know what I mean? Them guys, you got to get them guys on base who can, and then you bring up the bangers. But no, we do it the opposite way around. Yeah,
baseball has not changed that much, Papernick. It still works the same way as it used to. All right, Papernick, listen, man, well, I'll let you go. And
hey, you have a good night.
See you tomorrow night.
Yep, I'll be here.
All right. Michael Papernick, man, always dropping the words of wisdom. Let's get back to some of these comments. He's right, though. And it's one of the critical flaws with this Phillies team. It's the structurability of the lineup. It's never been right. And that's another reason why I wanted Bo Bichette. When all that broke, I'm like, you know what, Bo Bichette, man, that's a number 2 hitter. Now we got a lead off. We got a number 2. I think Harper's a decent 3. Schwarber, if he accepts, is a 4. Right? At least we got the first 4 people in our lineup structurally correct. But then you got Rob Thompson and all this, and you just everything goes out the window. But he's right. What are the Phillies going to look like in 2026? What is the lineup? Now, everyone, hopefully, and I'll be one of the ones that come off a cliff. Was it February 21st? Phillies Blue Jays will kick off spring training and play. I'm not going to freak out when I see Schwarber leading off in that game or anything. But what is this opening day roster going to look like? Like, who is leading off? And don't forget, we're going to see DeGrom and Mackenzie Gore in that opening series against the Rangers on March 26th. So right off the shoot, we're going to get a pretty interesting pitching battle between Christopher Sanchez and Jacob DeGrom. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. But what is this team going to do? What we got here? Cooper get traded now. He can't. Not yet. Cooper DeJean's too good. The Eagles are promoting safeties coach Joe Casper. Yes, they are. Congratulations, becoming the new D-backs coach. We only have one. And so I was commenting about the mock draft selection of the tight end from Oregon as, I think we need more offense too. But the question is, do we need skilled offense or we need trench offense? Because take a pick there. A lot of people blame the offensive line for the problems with the Eagles offense last year. I'm not taking an offensive lineman in the first round unless I'm taking in the top 5 and it's some kid who comes off the charts like that. I'm not taking at 23, wherever the Eagles are picking that far down. No, I'll go with a tight end. I'll pick an offensive lineman later on in the draft. There's going to be quality ones available in the second and third rounds. So, yeah, I definitely think you go tight end. Or you may have to go wide receiver based on what happens with A.J. Brown. We'll see. But I do agree. I think offense, the theme of this year's draft is offense, right? Yeah, you got to address the cornerback situation in this draft. There's no getting around that. I honestly think you go offense, tight end in the first round. You take your cornerback in the second round, your CB2, and then you go pretty much offense after that. And then maybe if somebody jumps out at you in the third round as a safety that you might want to go get, fine. If not, find somebody in free agency if there's anybody out there. But you got to lock down this cornerback thing. You got to give Quinyon Mitchell somebody decent on the opposite side of him. And you got to do it through the draft. You got to build that sort of like, that Lito Shepherd, Sheldon Brown type thing back there with some young players. And I think that Quinyon, now heading into his third year, is in a perfect position to mentor a younger cornerback entering his first year. So take the second round pick as a cornerback and then go offense pretty much right after that. And then I know the edge is also a problem, but you gotta get more from what we have internally with the edge. Do you bring back Jalen Phillips? Does Jihad Campbell get flexed out to that edge permanently next year? And does he turn a corner, have offenses figured this kid out after 1 year? I mean, I'm not going to close the book on him yet, not after year one. But you do have some internal edge options. Jalix Hunt. Are you going to turn it over to them next year and see if you can get anything out of them? Or do you waste another draft pick on another edge? I don't know. But I don't think there's any mistake of the priority positions that the Eagles must draft this year. And that's cornerback, safety, tight end, and yes, some offensive line, because they're not getting the depth as they need. So Dave was right. He's not elite. Dave was right. He is not elite. Jose, how you doing, my friend? Said we should name this segment "Running It Back with the Phillies Season 4." Listen, I know you've been tuning in. I know you listen, and I know you know how I come out on this. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it, right? I'm not. But I'm also a realist in a lot of ways when I say that there's just so much the Phillies could do. Every offseason, they can't go after the prime free agents. Every offseason, they just can't do it. It's just I know we like to say, and Middleton said stupid money and all that, but that's a lie, and we know that. There's a threshold that he's not willing to go over for whatever reason, if it's good or if it's bad, and I'm okay with it. Honestly, I am. Because I don't like necessarily buying your championships. What was one of the things kind of in my younger years, in my 20s, it was all about the Yankees, and all they did was buy championships. They went out and purchased them, and they did, right? Randy Johnson, A-Rod, Clemens, just name after name after name of big name players that would come to New York to help them continue to win championships. But the Yankees also had a really nice younger system going on with the Riveras and the Jeters and Bernie Williams. They had players coming up from their system that really helped that out. But yeah, they went out and they bought their championships. I get it. The Phillies have already done that, right? I mean, it's not like Middleton has not spent money. I mean, Turner wasn't cheap. Harper wasn't cheap. Schwarber wasn't cheap twice. JT wasn't cheap twice. So we've done that. Now, you can argue, and it's a legit argument, that these are not the right players and that these contracts are not good and they're starting to age well or age badly. And you're right. But that's part of the poison pen here. You jump in bed with the devil. Sometimes it ain't going to work for you. And I don't think we're on the other side of that yet. We're getting there with some of these guys like Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Schwarber. I don't know why whatever. I'm not going to get all fired up about it. You had a chance to move off of Schwarber. You didn't. Whatever. But that was the only one you had. You had one major move this offseason to make. Either bring back Schwarber or go outside and find someone to replace him, i.e. Pete Alonso, who I wanted, right? They didn't do that. They brought back Schwarber. Now they showed they had money, willing to spend money on Bo Bichette for 7 years, $200 million. So there was money there to be spent. But what I don't understand, and I get the position they were backed into, again, not that I accept it or agree with it, was we didn't have a catcher. We don't have a catcher. He traded away Logan O'Hoppe, right? Who could be your starting catcher right now with a Marchand backup. Maybe not the greatest, but Logan O'Hoppe's not costing you $43 million over 3 years. He's traded away Eduardo Tayit. He wasn't going to help you out this year anyway. But anyway, he's traded away all the catching prospects. We don't have any. You had no other choice but to bring back JT. Your back was against it. So it was, if they would have brought Bichette in, then you could have talked yourself out of not going after JT and said, just bring in some other scrubbo catcher and we'll deal with that because we plussed up the third base side. We got better. We got the guy we wanted, Bichette, and we'll just deal with whatever catchers are, what we have. So I get the optics of this. I'm not saying the Phillies have the right players here either, but I'm also not going to sit here and say the Phillies don't spend money. They do. Did they spend it wisely? Well, up to this point, they haven't. But at some point, something else has got to give. And that is your minor leagues. And I know so-called baseball people out there, fans of this organization, of this franchise, don't have much respect for the minors. They view the minor leagues as, I'm not going to speak for them. I don't know how they view them, but I don't think they view them as there's not a sport out there that the minor leagues are more important to than baseball. That's why there's 5 levels. Because there's such a progression involved in going up from different levels to getting to the majors. Not to have a good minor league system, not to have a good developmental system, not to have players that are able to plug and play at some point during their progression into your organization is critically bad for you. And at some point, you got to give them kids an opportunity. And as this offseason has limped through, and it limped, we're in a position right now of kind of where I predicted they would be and what the next move is, and it's going to be to give the young kids an opportunity. It's going to give the Crawfords and the Painters right off the bat an opportunity. Kemp will get an increased role, and then you're going to go with potentially with Rakonis at some point, maybe not this year, but definitely Aiden Miller might look good at third base at some point during the season. I don't know, maybe not. But mixing in this younger group with this older group is how you sort of bridge that gap. And I didn't see any other way for the Phillies to go in 26. Bringing in Kyle Tucker and Cody Bellinger wasn't going to make this team better. No, it was going to keep this team the same way. Bunch of home run hitting fools. But now you got some players in here that are more than just home run hitters. They're contact hitters, and they move the ball along. Again, so-called baseball fans, Phillies fans that don't look at this stuff, that don't understand, it's frustrating because they get frustrated because they don't know what they're talking about. And I don't know if these players are going to work out, but I'm telling you that when you're developing players, you got to find a way to push them into the majors at some point. And I'm okay, in essence, what's happening with the Phillies. And I don't necessarily, I get it. I know they're running it back. But if this season that's going to start in the end of March and going to end in October, hopefully late October or November, but I don't think it's going to be the same team that starts the season. I think there's going to be different players that are going to assume certain mantles of responsibility as we push down through the season. And I think you're going to see some contributions from the young kids. And it might be what this team needs, because ultimately they need a DNA change, and I think that's how they get it. And I think in the Phillies' case, it's the only way they could do it. Dave was right. He's not elite. Trey is a small ball guy. He's a contact hitter. Dave was right. Harper's not elite. Yes, we know. Here comes the lockdown. That's correct. So we definitely got to make 2026 last. All right, let's go into our other night, and then we got to get to some clear the ice because the Flyers game has gone final. Flyers have lost 4-0, but we're going to break that game down for you very briefly. Very briefly. But let's get to the other night segment. We got a couple things to do there, and then we'll move. We'll keep this thing moving. All right. The other night segment. Let's start with our NHL draft prospect. Oh, the night. He is Alessandro Diorio, the centerman from the Sarina Sting of the OHL, 6'1", 190. Diorio isn't the most explosive skater, but he already possesses a sturdy frame that allows him to hang on the pucks for extended periods of time through contact. He plays well, a 200-foot game, and doesn't have many miscues with his defensive assignments. While he brings a strong two-way game, he still has the offensive skill to make plays and contribute in the offensive zone or end. He looks like he's about 12, and I believe through about 28 games with Sarina this year. 17 goals and I think 34 assists. So he's definitely in the business of puck possessions and facilitating. Back teens, 1920 maybe in the first round. Definitely a project guy. We talked about a straight up project guy yesterday, and we're going to definitely talk about a project guy and Alessandro Diorio here. Definitely a project guy, maybe in the back end of the first round. Frame's a little weak for me. They say it's a sturdy frame. I don't like 6'1", 190 for a centerman. Give me 6'3", 200, 205 maybe. Tijagilna type stuff. But definitely another one of those project players that I see in the back end of the first round. And there you have it. There's your draft prospect of the night. Now let's get to our Philly Spotlight player of the night. Talked about the face of the franchise last night. Let's talk about one of the more puzzling players of the franchise who constantly gets opportunities with this team over and over again. That's Mr. Brandon Marsh. He is going to be, he has worked his way in and out of the lineup, up and down. He's staying, he's going. Obviously, he's not going because he's still under team control for another few years. And the Phillies gave up mucho dinero to get him in Logan O'Hoppe. So he is your guy, and he is going to be a prime player in 2026. Now, here's his numbers through last season: 785 OPS, 280 batting average, 11 home runs, 43 RBIs, 7 stolen bases. 133 games, scored 59 runs, 25 doubles, had 379 at bats, 25 doubles. Let's say it again: 2 triples, 106 hits. And I don't know what that is. That's something else. I don't know what that bottom part is. But, of course, Brandon is just like everybody else on this team. Really struggled through the first half of 2025. But look at his numbers since May 1st. 303 batting average, 10 home runs, 38 RBIs. I think prior to May 1st, he was batting somewhere around 40. I mean, it was bad. It was terrible early in the season. Do you remember that? I remember it vividly. But he got hot, and he stayed consistent through the rest of the season after a dreadful start. He is going to be part of your outfield, like it or not. And where do you bat him in the lineup? Your guess is as good as mine. I got him bottomed out there in the 7 hole. I don't think he deserves anywhere else higher than that. Maybe the Phillies projected him at one point to be a 5. He's not. 7 is where he will be in my lineup, and go from there. Based on his current, maybe he does figure out and maybe he becomes a little bit more clutch. 785 OPS is not that bad, but a dreadful start to his 2025 season, followed up by a very good 3/4 mark. For 3/4 of the season, he played pretty well. So Brandon Marsh, who, like it or lump it, is going to be a steady point of your outfield in 2026. So there you have it. And that's it. We've come to the end of the final word, but we're not done. That's right. I've told you this. I warned you. We are going Twofer tonight. So let's go. Let's transition. We are going to leave you for about 5 seconds, or more than that, about 25, 30 seconds, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk some Flyers. So stay tuned for Clear the Ice. All right, welcome to Clear the Ice, a Flyers postgame show here on the SRF Sports Network. Your boy MattyB is now transitioned from the final word to Clear the Ice. Flyers 4-0 losers tonight down there in South Philly as this anemic, this up and down stuff, this offense that just sort of just gets laid in neutral, did not have anything tonight against the Islanders. Urson was not terrible, but not good, and, he only faced 23 shots, but he gives up 4 goals along the way. Flyers are getting nothing from Matty and Michkov. Real quick, before I started this game, Michkov on the night, 16 minutes of ice time, finishes with a -1 or a -1 on the game, and a 4 shot total for him, as he just has hit a wall in epic proportion. And the fact that the Flyers have had such a decent season up to this point, I'll call it decent, and are getting nothing from Michkov is really starting to become troublesome and concerning. What do you do with Michkov? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Do you continuously just sort of kind of work him in? I don't know. Is a trip to Lehigh Valley in store for him? I don't know. I really don't. But the Flyers tonight got no offense from Michkov and got no offense from anybody else. And Urson was Urson. So let's break this thing down. Let's get right into this game, shall we? Let's talk some of the things that I do here, and that's tell you who did not play. The healthy scratches or the inactives tonight for the Islanders: Ryan Putlick, Simon Holstrom, and Callum Ritchie. For the Flyers, Nick Delorier, Garnet Hathaway, and Noah Juleson did not participate in this hockey game. In the net for the Flyers tonight, again, Sam Urson. Well, let's talk Islanders first. Suzorkin got to start for the Islanders, and he pitched himself a shutout, 21 shots faced, 21 saves made, a perfect 1.000 save percentage for Sam Urson. Not quite that for him. Urson on the night, 23 shots faced, 19 saves, and that all familiar 800 area save percentage as he finished with a .826. So let's go into this. We don't have goals necessarily to break down. We're not going to break down goals video tonight. We're just going to break down goals as we talk about them. First and foremost, the Islanders got on the board on the shorthand. You don't like that, man. Flyers trying to get anything going what they can, and tonight's special teams has been a problem this year, and not just the power play, but the penalty kill has been a problem too. But the Islanders get on the board on the shorthanded goal by Jean-Gabriel Pagou, his 9th. From Cizikas and Pelch at the 14:29 of the first period to give the Islanders that 1-0 lead. And that was all your scoring in the first period, as the Flyers and Islanders both split 7 shots apiece in that period. Matthew Brazil would get the Islanders up 2-0 at the 5:41 mark of the second period from George and Duclair to give the Islanders a 2-0 lead. And then about 7 or 8, 9 minutes later, our old friend Tony Delangelo, his 4th goal of the year on the power play from Brazil and Duclair at 12:50 to give the Islanders a 3-0 lead. The Flyers actually outshot the Islanders 8-7 in that period. And then Pagou, again, in the third period at the 13:38 mark, his 2nd of the game, his 10th of the year from Topaskolov and Lee. And that was it. That was the final goal of the night. They didn't need any of these goals other than the first one, But the guy who scored the first one scores the last one. The Islanders outshot the Flyers 9-6. On the game, Flyers were outshot 23-21. Flyers were over 3 in the power play. And, of course, surrendered the one shorthanded goal. And the Islanders were 1 for 3 on their power play. Flyers took the puck away 6 times, gave it away 16 times, and blocked 10 shots on the night. And just another one of them games, man. Just one of those offensive anemic games for this team, and not getting good enough goaltending. I'm sorry, 23 shots faced. Yeah, you got to make some saves, man. But and they gave up the shorty on that as well tonight. So not a good way to kind of wrap things up into the Olympic break. The Flyers will have 4 games this week. This was the first one. Tomorrow, Wednesday night, they got Columbus. Then Thursday with Boston, and then home Saturday. And then I think 2 more games before the Olympic break. They got to figure out something about this, man. They got to, is there a trade coming? Are the Flyers sellers or buyers at this deadline? And I think that's not as clear as it's been in certain years. I don't know if they're clearly a seller, but I don't know if they're clearly a buyer yet. I honestly don't. And not feeling the Michkov situation, not feeling the goaltending situation, not feeling anything right now from this team. It's too wildly up and down. They play like they played against Colorado on Saturday, and they come back with a major letdown game in front of the home crowd tonight and lose 4-0 to the Islanders. And just not good at all. And as I said, here's your schedule on Clear the Ice for the week. This is it for me. I'm done with Clear the Ice. Done for the week. You probably won't see me back on this show. You might, but not this week. Tomorrow, Wednesday night, will be Mike Laro. Thursday, Mike Laro, and Saturday, Mike Laro. We'll have you on the call. It's a Mikey kind of week on Clear the Ice, so make sure that you're checking that out. We just finished the final word. So did a rapid fire Clear the Ice. Flyers 4-0. It's hard for me to get excited about 4-0, man. I'll talk about the negatives and talk about the lack of offense from MattyB and Michkov and all this. So I'm not going to subject myself to it. Remind everybody, this is the network schedule for the rest of this week. Please make sure you check your local listings for times and dates in your area, and make sure you're checking back at all times. Thanks for a great show tonight, folks. Went about an hour and a half, so I want to appreciate everybody who chimed in, and wish you guys a great rest of your Tuesday night. And in the immortal words of the late, great Gene Hart, good night, good hockey. And in the immortal words of me, you guys have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow on The Final Word.